Good Friday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather with Sim again. I hope you guys are all having a great day so far. And in today's weather forecast, we're going to be going over the tropics, which we are watching for a potential major hurricane to develop. And then after that, we will also be going over what we can expect with these other storm systems, which are likely going to develop along the west coast and move across the plains and Midwest, and as well as into the Ohio Valley, which does look to bring the potential for some minor severe storms and as well as some flooding. So we will be needing to be keeping an eye on that. But as of right now, the systems still remain a little bit uncertain because we are still looking a few days out, but we definitely will need to be watching them. Well, let's first go ahead and start off with the tropics. And as you guys can see, this is the area we are watching for that potential major hurricane, where we do have a 40% chance of development, which as of right now, that's pretty low, but we will at least need to be keeping an eye on to see if this thing, upgrades during the next couple of National Hurricane Center updates. And so, we definitely will need to be watching this area closely. Worst case is that we might end up seeing a Category 3 hurricane when this upgrades, but, we will at least need to be keeping an eye on that area. And then back over here in the central Atlantic, we got two waves we are watching for. Both of them have a 20% chance of development during the next 7 days. So that's not really, super concerning, but we will at least need to be keeping an eye on them, especially this one over here, which looks to be heading towards the west, which could mean, a little bit of impact across parts of the Caribbean, Bahamas, and maybe even the East Coast, just depending on what the system does. But like I said, we will definitely need to be keeping an eye on it, but as of right now, chances are extremely low. Let's now go ahead and talk about what we can expect if the system does develop into a major hurricane, and this is with the GFS model, the American model. This is the model we like to take a look at whenever forecasting things like this. And as you guys can see, on September 29th, we do expect the system to potentially make landfall across parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and maybe even into parts of the panhandle of Florida. So we definitely will need to be watching that area right there. And then after it makes landfall, it shows that it will continue to bring at least some impacts. This is more of a tropical cyclone type look instead of a tropical depression or storm, which indicates that it will more than likely die down significantly as soon as it makes landfall across those areas. And this is pretty much on September 30th, and then after that it shows on October 2nd, which will be a few days out from where this thing is expected to make landfall. It will finally head back into the Atlantic Ocean, and there's still a little bit of it impacting the Carolinas, but the system will not really be concerning after it does move that way. Let's now go ahead and look at another model. This is the Canadian model. Okay, we also like to sometimes look at this one too as well whenever doing forecasts like this, and this shows it making landfall in a completely different way, very unorganized way. And instead of showing a really huge hurricane look, it does want to show more of a line of storms or a line of heavy rain across those areas. And what's crazy is that it wants to continue to show that as it continues up to the north, and this will be on September 28th as soon as it does that, and it wants to show another low down here towards the panhandle of Florida. And I mean, that's just a crazy look right there, with heavy rainfall both occurring down here near the coast, and even another heavy rainfall event occurring up here towards the Ohio Valley and down there towards the Appalachian Mountains region. So that would be really crazy if we did see something like this, but to me this is very bullish, so obviously take this with a grain of salt. And then after all that, this doesn't really look to be a huge concern after it passes the Ohio Valley, because it's just going to be some heavy rain in certain areas, but it's also going to continue to die down too as well. But we will still need to at least be watching for maybe a few things to occur after this passes the Ohio Valley. But like I said, after it does pass the Ohio Valley, this will not be as concerning. Let's now go ahead and look at the severe weather potential for the the next few days. And as you guys can see, starting off with today, we do have two marginal risks for severe storms, one across parts of the Central Plains and another one across parts of the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and as well as the Midwest. So pretty much heading from southeast Missouri all the way up into southwest Michigan. And the good news today is that there's no tornado threat, but we do both have a wind and as well as a hail threat in both areas. The area that I'm most concerned about is this area right over here towards, like I said, parts of southwest Michigan all the way down into southeast Missouri. I think that will be a little bit more concerning area given the fact that we haven't really seen a whole lot of severe weather across this area for a little while, but we will definitely need to be keeping an eye out for it, to see if any wind, hail, or, maybe even a brief storm develops. But as of right now, that does not really look like a huge concern for today. Let's now go ahead and look at tomorrow, and as you guys can see for tomorrow, a little bit higher threat of severe weather, especially down here across New Mexico and Texas, but we also got some other areas to maybe keep an eye on too as well, especially up here towards parts of central Iowa, heading into southeast Nebraska, up there towards southeast Minnesota, and as well as parts of western Wisconsin. Same goes for parts of western Pennsylvania all the way down into northern Virginia. And what makes tomorrow a little bit concerning is that we do have a risk for a few brief spin-up tornadoes across parts of eastern New Mexico and western Texas, with a hail threat and wind threat, but this is the wind threat right here for tomorrow, and as you guys can see, that does include the same areas with a 15% risk for damaging winds across those areas, and then up here to the north, just a 5% risk for damaging winds across both areas. And then for the hail threat, we do have, 15% risk for large hail too as well, but these two areas also have a threat for some large hail as well. So main concern looks to be down here towards New Mexico and Texas, but we will also need to be watching these two areas as well. Let's now go ahead and look at the risks for flash flooding during the next couple of days too as well, just to give you a good idea on what you can also expect. Starting off with today, again, as you guys can see for today, we do have a marginal risk for flash flooding across parts of southern California, into parts of Nevada, into northwestern Arizona, and as well as southwest Utah, looking to maybe see some scattered showers and thunderstorms capable of producing some very isolated minor flash flooding. Same goes for parts of New Mexico and as well as the panhandles of both Texas and Oklahoma, and we even got a small one down there towards the Miami region. Let's now go ahead and look at tomorrow, and as you guys can see for tomorrow, we do have another marginal risk for flash flooding, and again, scattered showers and thunderstorms will be capable of producing some minor flash flooding in some areas. Could get upgraded to a slight risk in one of these areas, but as of right now, this just looks to be marginal. So as of right now, not a super concerning day, but we will still need to be keeping an eye out for tomorrow. And same goes for day 3 and 4, as parts of the Midwest and as well as the Ohio Valley looks to see that potential for flash flooding from Sunday into Monday, which will be across parts of eastern Kansas all the way up into northwest Indiana. And then on Monday, that continues to shift off into the Ohio Valley, like I said, and still continues across a little bit of the Midwest, but more concerned about the Ohio Valley for that potential of flash flooding. Let's now go ahead and look at your total rainfall, and this is using the GFS model, okay? This is what the models are wanting to show during the next few weeks, and this is anywhere from now all the way to September 29th. And as you guys can see, this does want to show some really high rainfall totals across parts of the deep south, especially across extreme eastern Louisiana, extreme southern Mississippi and Alabama, and as well as the panhandle of Florida, showing anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of rainfall across those areas, showing a little bit higher amounts, however, across parts of the Louisiana coast, especially just to the east of New Orleans, where it is wanting to show up to 20 inches of rainfall due to these dark yellow colors. So we'll be keeping an eye out for it, but again, that does sound a little bit bullish to me, especially because, that's quite a bit of rainfall, and I mean, that may happen depending on how strong this hurricane gets, but as of right now, that does remain uncertain, and like I said, that does sound very bullish to me. But up here towards the Ohio Valley, look what it shows for the Ohio Valley. It's showing some isolated totals of around 6 inches of rainfall across parts of southern Indiana and northern Kentucky. And that's mainly due to these other storm systems that look to bring that minor flash flooding potential, and as well as that severe weather, which is what I said at the beginning of this video. And even some other totals across, parts of central Indiana, central Ohio, central Illinois, and central Missouri could see anywhere from 4 to even as much as 5 inches of rainfall in some of these areas. Not all areas will see that much, but we will at least need to be keeping an eye on it, and because we are forecasting a little bit far out, do expect some things to change. Let's now go ahead and look at the Canadian model. This is, another model we like to take a look at whenever doing long forecasts, and this is anywhere from now all the way to September 29th, and this one has a different opinion on how this rainfall will play out, because like I said, when we were taking a look at if this thing will become a hurricane, this looks to, be dumping a lot of rainfall across parts of the panhandle of Florida, Alabama, into Georgia, and as well as Tennessee, and that's due to this model showing a huge line of heavy rainfall across those areas. And like I said, there could even be a widespread heavy rainfall event occurring across parts of the Ohio Valley. And like I said, some of these other storm systems that we are keeping an eye on, which looks to bring the potential for minor severe weather and flooding, like I said, is also, kind of making these rainfall totals go up too as well. And so that we could be seeing some isolated totals of around 6 to 7 inches, especially across the eastern Ohio Valley. But look at parts, of Indiana seeing anywhere from 3 to even as much as 5 inches of rain in some areas, and then even parts of Illinois could even get, that much rainfall too as well. Let's now go ahead and look at the drought monitor. These are the areas that really need the rainfall, and as you guys can see, we got a drought ongoing across parts of the Ohio Valley, so places like Ohio, West Virginia, seeing those extreme to exceptional droughts across those areas, so we really do need several inches of rainfall across these areas, unfortunately. And I mean, several inches of rainfall would definitely cause flooding, but that's, how much rainfall they really need, especially to make the soil, completely wet. So unfortunately, you guys will continue to maybe stay dry these next few days, but we're hoping that you guys will get a lot of rainfall from the system, which, like I said, you guys may have the potential for 2 to 4 inches of rainfall, maybe even greater in some areas. Same goes for over here across parts of the Midwest, seeing some severe droughts across those areas. We also are watching parts of the Northwest for, some rainfall, because they really need it too, and then even the Southern Plains and even parts of the Southwest United States, seeing some isolated severe moderate droughts across those areas, with even some exceptional droughts in place. Let's now go ahead and take a look at what we can expect for future development. And as you guys can see, if we look anywhere from September 25th all the way to October 1st, a very high chance of development across parts of the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico, where we got greater than a 60% chance of development. And that's what it says for that system that we are watching for, a potential major hurricane, which, is bad news, which probably tells us that the system will indeed develop. We just don't know how strong it will be yet, but like I said, we will, continue to be watching that area closely. Same goes for the MDR region. Some development there also appears possible, and even over here towards parts of western Mexico. And then if we look a little bit farther out, anywhere from October 12th to October 8th, a little bit less in the way of development is expected, especially because hurricane season will be calming down a little bit, but some development still does appear possible, so we will definitely keep an eye on it. But thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy today's weather forecast. We did talk about quite a bit in today's weather forecast, and we will continue to keep you guys updated with the latest latest. So if you guys want to stay updated, or if you haven't subscribed already, please make sure to click that subscribe button down below, so that way you guys can stay tuned for more future updates. Same goes with clicking that notification bell, and as well as that like button, you guys can stay tuned for future updates, and of course you'll be notified whenever I do go live. So make sure to do each of those things, and I also do appreciate you guys leaving me some nice comments down below. That was very nice of you guys during the last few days, and you guys can continue to do that if you would like. But I hope you guys all have a great weekend.